Thank you for joining us, and here are some of the reports we're filing at this hour. I am Franco Malape, and now President Muhammadu Buhari will on Friday launch Nigeria's integrated national financing framework for sustainable development on the margins of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, the United States. This comes 2 years after the country officially kicked off the design process as an INFF pioneer country in 2020 and has committed to being a champion of INFF. In a statement signed by the President's spokesman Femi Adesina for Nigeria, the INFF is also expected to help in the recovery from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, as well as help address lack of an integrated approach to financing SDG goals, which has been a key challenge to meeting the finance requirement, estimated at $100 billion over the next 10 years. Adesina also described the INFF as a tool to help countries strengthen planning processes and overcome existing impediment to financing sustainable development at the national level. Expected at the launch are some of heads of states, head of governments, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, and representatives from countries and international organizations. Away from that, now the federal government on Monday said there are plans to increase the 30,000 naira minimum wage in the light of inflation raving the country. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, revealed this at the Nigeria Labour Congress public presentation in Abuja. According to him, the adjustment had become important to reflect what was happening globally. He, however, advised the executives of affiliate unions of the Nigeria Labour Congress to familiarize themselves with labor laws. Plans, he added, were being put in place to convert the Michael Imodo Institute of Labour Studies in Ilorin, Kwara State into a degree awarding institute. They said that in the current economic situation, the current minimum wage of 30,000 naira will not, in the present economic reality, pay workers transportation fares to work for a month. Also speaking, the president of the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, said that the sole aim of the labor movement in the country was to protect the interest of workers. If not for the struggle, according to him, of the founding fathers of the movement in the country, the story would have been different today. And our domestic debt has pushed Nigeria's total public debt stock from 41.60 trillion naira as of March 2022 to 42.84 trillion naira as of June this year, showing an increase of 1.24 trillion naira in 3 months, according to the Debt Management Office. This was contained in a press statement published on the DMO's website Monday. According to the DMO, the federal government was unable to secure any foreign loans in the second quarter of 2022. The DMO noted that external debt remained the same at 16.61 trillion, that's about $40.06 billion from fourth quarter to second quarter of 2022. It added that 58% of external debt was concessional and semi-concessional loans from multilateral lenders such as the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, African Development Bank, and bilateral lenders including Germany, China, Japan, India, and France. It also noted that domestic debt rose to 26.23 trillion naira due to new borrowings by the government to part finance the deficit in 2022 appropriation repeal and enactment act, as well as new borrowings by state government and the Federal Capital Territory. The DMO further said that the total public debt to GDP as of June 30, 2022 was 23.06 trillion naira, or 23.06% compared to the ratio of 23.27% as of March this year, adding that the debt service to revenue ratio remained high. And now the Nigeria Communication Commission has said that the federal government will generate over 500 billion naira in the 2023 fiscal year through the 5G spectrum. The executive vice chairman of the NCC, Umaru Dambata, made this known on Monday at an interactive meeting on 2023 to 2025 medium term expenditure framework organized by the Senate Committee on Finance. Dambata said the projected revenue will be realized from the auctioning of two 5G spectrums and the bidding process for auctioning of the spectrums in 2023. He also disclosed that NCC had generated 257 billion naira in the first quarter of 2022, while 195 billion naira was remitted to government coffers. The NCC boss added that from August 31, 318 billion naira was generated, while 214 was remitted. According to him, the fund realized was occasioned by the auctioning of two 5G spectrums at the rate of 263 million naira and 273 million naira as well. He said the NCC from 2017 to 2021 had also generated about 791 billion naira and remitted about 423 billion naira to the government. He added, and I quote, "The target was to hit 75% penetration in 2025. Hopefully, we will achieve 50% penetration by the end of 2022. End of quote. Dambata advised Nigerians to make use of the 112 emergency national numbers to report issues of emergencies such as fire outbreaks, accident, among others, and a toll-free number 622 to lodge complaints on issues relating to drop calls. And now the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, said the number of electricity distribution companies' customers in Nigeria in the first quarter and second quarters of 2022 stood at 10.63 million and 10.81 million, respectively. This is according to the Nigeria Electricity Report for first quarter and second quarter 2022, released by the NBS in Abuja on Tuesday. The report focuses on energy billed, revenue generated, and customers by the DISCOs under the pre-review period. According to the report, the total number of customers for the period under review indicates a rise of 1.61% on quarter-on-quarter basis. The report said on a year-on-year basis, the number of customers in the first quarter 2022 declined by 1.36% from first quarter of 2021 at 10.78 million. Similarly, the number of customers also declined in the second quarter of this year by 2.27% from second quarter of 2021 at 11.06 million. The report said the number of metered customers stood at 4.79 million in first quarter and 4.96 million in the second quarter, an indication of 3.56% increase on a quarter-on-quarter basis. However, on a year-on-year basis, there were growth rates of 10.71% and 9.54% in the second and first quarter of 2022 when compared to 4.3 million customers recorded in first quarter and 4.53 million in the second quarter of last year. And now the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and oil marketers under the aegis of the Petroleum Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria are worried about an impending fiscal crisis in Nigeria following the continued rise in subsidy on premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol. The NESG expressed its concern in the group's September 2022 report titled "The State of Nigeria's Economy" and obtained in Abuja on Monday, as figures from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited indicated that petrol subsidy gulped about 2.04 trillion naira between January and July this year. NNPC said it under recovery of PMS value shortfall, otherwise called fuel subsidy, was 210.38 billion naira, 219.78, 245.7 billion, and 271.59 billion in January, February, March, and April 2022, respectively. In the month of May, June, and July, the petrol subsidy gulped about 327.07 billion naira, 319.18 and 448.78 billion naira. The total sum spent on PMS subsidy during the 7 months was put at 2.04 trillion naira. In its latest report on the state of Nigeria's economy, the NESG observed that federal government's huge fuel subsidy spending had been a drain on the country's revenue despite the rise in crude oil prices in 2022. The group stated, in line with historical precedent, Nigeria's fiscal space has been largely unimpressive, primarily on the revenue alongside a growing fiscal deficit. And now Nigeria's oil industry has continued to face underinvestment, and this is why it cannot achieve maximum output. This is according to oil expert Olawumi Olatiji speaking on iBrandTV's Business Breakfast, where she hammered that year of underinvestment as well as theft has a grip on the industry. She noted that divestment from international oil companies has also affected the industry. This is because local producers cannot meet up, adding that refineries and pipelines are still faced with challenges.
The primary factor, yes, we know there's so many things that we'll be talking about, but the primary factor for me is underinvestment in the sector. So if you look at in the past 10 years, our production used to be about 2 million barrels, but right now we're just struggling to do basically over 1 million barrels per day. So if you've lost 1 million barrels in the past 10 years, you know that you cannot even be at the same place in terms of your revenue, you know. And right now, Nigeria is even struggling, falling below Angola. That is a country that just came even into the scene way after Nigeria has come out. So that's the primary factor. Of course, there's also theft, you know, illegal bunkering, the issue of illegal refinery, the issue of the Transforcados pipeline that is currently under repair. So those are the kind of issues that is bedeviling the industry right now. So even starting from the upstream in terms of production. So the fact that over the past couple of years, the IOCs, the international oil companies, have been divesting from Nigeria, and meaning that they are leaving the country and giving opportunities for smaller players, indigenous oil companies to come on board, you know, to take over those assets. So when they begin to leave like that, the assets that they are divesting, naturally, you will not want to invest in those assets anymore. So when I say invest in production optimization, improving your production, you are found reserve, but you are not producing, you know. Also pipelines, the Transforcados pipeline, like I mentioned, for instance, is like the primary pipeline that we evacuate crude out of Nigeria. And it's currently under repair. It's under a lot of issues, maybe attacks and all that makes it, you know, being shut down. So those are the key things. Then of course, the refinery, there's so much you can say about refinery.
Away from there now, the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, has raised the alarm about over 50 different taxes, levies, and fees imposed on organized businesses by local, state, and federal government. The employers' body also revealed that currently at the National Assembly, there are over 5 different bills which also seek to impose various taxes and levies on businesses. In addition to the notable taxes and levies which are of general application, such as the National Information Technology Development Levy, Education Tax or Tertiary Education Tax, National Social Insurance Trust Fund, Company Income Tax, Television and Radio License Fee, Local Content Levy, and Stamp Duty, among others. The Director General of NECA, Adewale Smart Oyeride, lamented that the action will not only reduce the competitiveness of the industries, but will also increase the cost of doing business and further reduce the potential sustainability. While emphasizing the need for the government not to overburden the enterprises, he recommended that as the African continent free trade area comes into full swing, Nigeria cannot afford to become a dumping ground for cheap imported products because we have refused to protect local businesses. You'll be watching Business Now, coming to you live from our studios here. Still to come after this commercial break. Japan's inflation hit 2.8%, exceeding central bank's 2% target. Bring you details and more news after this time out.